welcome to my incredibly hot recording studio, where I'm continuing with the third of the series of free plays chronicling the Wars of the Roses. So, episode 18 of Shakespeare on Leadership. We're getting through this series fairly quickly, in large part due to their topical relevance. So we have political infighting, plotting, continuing from the previous episodes, and in this play at least, a transition of power that does not go smoothly. So, bearing in mind that I am recording in June 2026, just listening to this play this week as it unfolds really has been like listening to a 24-hour news channel. So it's relevant, not hopefully not too prophetic. The episode is subtitled VUCA or VUCA. Let's get into why. I'm about to share a clip here from a useful Mind Tools YouTube share on managing in a VUCA world. In this play and in today, I believe we are in a VUCA world of rapid and unpredictable change. So what does the VA stand for? Volatile, change the climate, uncontrollable, uncertain, where the future's unpredictable, hard to plan for, therefore complex, which means that there's a lot going on. Things can often feel chaotic and confused through this play, and ambiguous. Which means there's real absence of understanding what really causes the problem, but we can see the symptoms. So an environment that's described as dangerously disruptive. So I've shared that context. Let's take a look at the context of the play. So the play is about the chaos in England, unleashed by the House of York usurping rule from the House of Lancaster. This is known as the Wars of the Roses. The play shows us a civil war with events that unfold at breakneck pace, first favouring one side, then the other, now sways it this way like a mighty sea. We hear about the power of the waves and the wind and the tide, sort of natural forces that overwhelm mere humans. Let me give you a brief plot outline in Pixar pitch terms. So we open with our weak ruler. We've seen him before. So that's Henry VI, faced with a plotting usurper, Richard of York, until one day the usurper arrives with an overwhelming army of support, which leads to a plan to transition power peacefully after Henry VI's reign, which rapidly breaks down through conflicts on both sides, which leads to a series of chaotic battles, which leads to the downfall of both main protagonists and the emergence of, unfortunately, another weak ruler. This will be King Edward IV, until finally that sets the scene for a psychopath who will be Richard III to murder his way to the crown. So, brief outline of the plot. Along the way, we have a plethora of battles, betrayals, violent deaths. We are full tilt into chaos. The centre does not hold. This is a VUCA world. Now, there's not one hero of the play, so worth spending a moment with the principal actors to see what Shakespeare tells us about them and about their leadership in this world. Let's start with King Henry VI. I've said in a previous episode, he's a good man, but he's a leader that does not understand, does not enjoy politics, and cannot control events. He still believes to the very end he is appointed to rule and should stay in power. Ultimately, he comes to disdain the forces that he can't quite understand. What are the forces that undo him? The same tongue that praised me yesterday did rail on me the next. The same person that cried, God save King Henry, next day cries, away with him. aft doth a sail filled with the fretting gust. So again, we have the wind and the waves. The boisterous wind commands. He, he, he doesn't think much of the people. As the wind doth play upon a harp, so does the multitude upon the state, tossing it this way and the next. But he accepts reality. He forms a compromise to hand over power to Richard of York peacefully at the end of his term in office. But that doesn't hold even unto the next scene. So here we have Richard of York with Henry's French Queen Margaret. So despite the compromised truce, York and Margaret, Richard of York and Margaret find themselves in immediate conflict. Margaret's now the power behind the throne. Richard of York, the crown is mine by right, and either him or his son will get it or die. So both these characters are driven by ambition, and they're undone by betrayal. So it's Richard's son Edward that eventually emerges victorious from this conflict. So he's crowned King Edward the Fourth. The she-wolf of France goes into exile. Richard of York has quite a gruesome murder scene. But let's move on to Edward the Fourth. Well, he's the new ruler. He's the new kid on the block. However, he doesn't start well, and he goes down from there. Early on, he makes an alliance with the power of France through proposing marriage to the daughter of the French king. Now that arrangement is immediately wrecked by him changing his mind, taking another bride. Perhaps the lesson is changing your mind whilst appointing your new right-hand person is fraught with peril. Further, he doesn't know what to do with power. He's shown as a wanton, weak-willed and rash. Right at the end of the play, this is what he says he'll do with power: stately triumphs, mirthful comic shows, such as befit the pleasure of the court. Farewell, sour annoy, for here, I hope, begins our lasting joy. So we have yet another ruler whose goal extends no further than assuming office and then enjoying the fruits of that office. Or that sets the scene for the emergence of the future Richard III. He's Duke of Gloucester in this play. So he's King Edward's younger brother. I think we know something about him I think most people know something about Richard III. In this play, he is shown clearly as a psychopath. He's, I can smile and murder whilst I smile. He's clearly a psychopath waiting in the wings now, intent on murdering his way to the top. So those are the main characters. And there's a lot going on. So, is there, if you take all of these together, is there an overarching signal from the play? And I think there is. I think the play is saying being successful in a battle for power gives no surety of a successful period in office. Shakespeare, I believe, does point us, although he shows a lot of weakness, he points us by looking at the opposite towards a formula for success in a chaotic world. So I've had a go at that. Henry's conflict avoidance, should be replaced by authority and direction. Richard of York and Queen Margaret's naked ambition, should be replaced with purpose and vision. The betrayals and treacheries we see should be replaced by loyalty based on relationships. The willful blindness where people literally get ambushed should be replaced with alertness and control of events, not being at mercy of the wind and the tide of events. And wantons and psychopaths really, should be replaced by servant leaders. So that, I think, is what Shakespeare is telling us. Well, let's see. I'm going to go back to the second part of the Mind Tools YouTube share. Let's see how Shakespeare's prescription for his VUCA world differs from current thinking. helps people react quickly to change. Understanding what's going on around you, like willful blindness. So if you're in the know, you can anticipate the threats, take advantage of opportunities, achieve clarity. Yeah, then you communicate, emotional teamwork, collaboration, relationships, encourage people to solve complex problems together. Encourage people to stimulate debate, embrace creativity, find the root causes of the problems, find the solutions. So that is those are contemporary leadership concepts, perhaps not that different um, from what you'll find in Shakespeare, if you pay attention. Interestingly, this is so topical, our soon-to-be new Prime Minister, Mr. Andy Burnham, did take the time, studying English at university, to read all of Shakespeare's plays. So we are told. So perhaps forewarned might be forearmed. I certainly hope so. Um, I'll leave you with that thought. I also hope you've enjoyed another brief, but perhaps topically relevant installment. There's 4 plays in this series. We've done 3. We've got Richard III to come, but this series of plays is a massive undertaking. I do encourage you to go further. I recommend the BBC Hollow Crown adaptation. So if you want to, you can spend more time with these action-packed and insightful dramas. And just when you think it couldn't get any darker, it's time for me to move on to Richard III, which probably will be darker. I'll tell you more about that in due course. Until then, farewell.